Hello, welcome to this samurai guide for level 70 in Final Fantasy Realm Reborn. So this video is primarily for somebody on Reddit who was struggling with getting to grips with the action bars on the PS4 for the samurai. And I've been playing samurai for probably about 4 months now, and I'm at level 70. The level cap is now 80, but I thought I'd explain just for my own reference as well later on in the future, and if anybody wants to have a look how I play samurai at this point. It might not be, I might not be squeezing every ounce of DPS out that I could, but I'm fairly confident I play pretty well, depending on the boss and all that sort of stuff. But let's get into it. So on the PS4 you have crossbars instead of hotbars. So I've got it configured so that when I take out my weapon, my sword, my hotbars appear, or my crossbars. So that's what it looks like initially. I appreciate it can be quite confusing, but I do have a system that I follow, and I'll try and explain that as well. So first of all, let me just get into the crossbar configuration side of things, because you probably want to set this up first as well. So if you haven't used PS4 before, if you hold L2 here, you have access to all of the abilities on the left side, which correspond to up, down, left, right, and then square, circle, triangle, and then X. And then if I hold R2, I get the same on that side. So you can use R1, you tap R1 and you get your secondary bars behind it, but I've stopped doing that a while ago because I can't see the cooldowns on the first screen if I'm on these bars here. So that, yeah, it just wasn't working for me. At present I've mapped all of the abilities all the way up to level 80 where I think they should appear on the crossbar. I may tweak them later on, but at present I'm fairly happy with my setup and I think it works. It flows nicely on the PS4 controller. So configuration wise, if I go to character configuration, scroll across to, I'm already there, so hotbar settings, and these are my crossbar settings. So this one's selected by default, so is this one. In custom, enable expanded controls with L2 and R2. So if I hold L2 and R2, I get a new hotbar, which is hotbar 4, the left side of hotbar 4. So you notice before I said if I hold L2 I get 8 buttons, and if I hold R2 I get right buttons. All of this is known as set 7 if you look at the bottom where it says R1, so that's my set 7. So when it says cross hotbar 4, that means set 4 left side. So I can't show you that easily here. Anyway, so scrolling down, this is what I've done to compensate for the fact that I don't want to press R1 to get another set of crossbars. So you can double tap L2 or double tap R2 and you get a completely new hotbar. So I've got it set to set 2 left side and set 2 right side, depending on which L2 or R2 I'm double tapping. And it's really useful because at least that way you can still see your primary hotbars underneath it, or crossbars. I keep using the terms interchangeably, you know what I mean. And these are just some general settings around what I want to be able to see when I draw my weapon and such. So let's get on to the abilities. So the way I normally build my my crossbars in every job that I'm using, I'm currently using Dark Knight, Ninja, Red Mage and Samurai. So I tend to group abilities together in initially by what they're used for. So for example, all the area of effect, all the multiple target AoE attacks I'll put together, and for Samurai it happens that they're all on the left side here. So Fuga, Mangetsu, Oka, Hissatsu, Gyoten, they're all on the left. There is another one which I've just learnt, which I've put up here, again on the left. So that's the up button I'm pressing there. So I'm double tapping L2 up, and here I'm holding L2 up and left and and right, and then down. So that's all with sort of 2 fingers on the left side of my control pad. It works slightly different with different jobs. You might only have 2 AoE abilities, in which case you'll fit them in wherever you feel that they feel comfortable. Then on the right side here, I normally always have my triangle, X, circle, square buttons as my primary combo button, or my primary combo initiators, if you will. So I'll always start with either X or circle. That's my system. With Samurai, my combos always start with X, just because the way the job's laid out, I felt that it worked best. So, and then I always have this attack nearest thing here, just because I think I got used to it at a really early stage, and I can't get used to just pressing left or right and then X to firm lock onto an enemy. I'd rather hold L2 and press triangle to attack the nearest one. Then I've got a couple of abilities here that I like to fit in. My ethos, my sort of mentality when I'm building this is abilities I'm going to be using quite often, and the abilities that I need to see very often are all on this first crossbar. Anything that I will use but not as often, and I don't really need to see the cooldown of, I'll try to stick them behind here. But again, I'll have some sort of a mentality on the grouping here. So for example, I put this on the left side here because it is an AoE, and I've got all my AoEs on the left over here already. And on the right side I've got an equivalent attack here, which I've not learned yet, but that is the single target version. And again, I've got all my combos here which are single target incidentally. So Samurai, let's have a look at the abilities. So as I said, Hakaze is the starter, so you always do that before you do anything else in a fight in most cases. So it's your opener, you start that, then what happens is you have combo actions off that, and just to make it really simple, I'm just going to show you. So Hakaze combos into either Jinpu or Shifu, so you have to pick a path essentially. And the way I've built this crossbar is, if you look on the right hand side, there are 3 dots, or 3 really big symbols in the shape of a triangle. Actually, I can do this, can't I? Yep. So we've got this one here, we've got this one here, and this one here. I can't remember the names, but I know this is collectively called the Sen gauge, or the gorge. So that's S-E-N. And what I've done is, because it's shaped like a triangle, I tried to organize this in a way that, organize my abilities in a way that complemented that triangle. So the basic idea with Samurai is you want to fill these 3 up, and then unleash your Iaijutsu, which is here for me, holding R2 and pressing down, and you'll see why in a moment. But if you don't pay attention to what you're filling up in terms of this Sen gauge, you're not going to be playing properly. You need to be working on filling these up with your combos. That's the aim. And once they're full, you dump them on an Iaijutsu on an enemy. So Iaijutsu works in 3 stages. So the way it works is, if one of these Sen circles, I'll call them Sen circles, are full, it doesn't matter which one, and you use Iaijutsu, you end up with Higanbana. And this is a single target, damage over time, which you should always try to keep up on the enemy. So keep an eye on this debuff on the enemy. It lasts for a minute, and reapply it if needed. If you have 2 of these Sen gauge circles filled, then you use the multiple target cone attack, which again is good for AoE. That's your AoE Iaijutsu. And then you've got your big single target, big damage Midori Setsugeka, which rolls off the tongue. And to do that, you need all 3 of your Sen circles full. How do you fill them up, you might ask? So really easy. So Yukikaze at the top, corresponds to the top Sen circle. Kasha on the right corresponds to the right circle, and Gecko on the left corresponds to, you guessed it, the left side. Now the reason I've got them over here is just because I wanted this to be here. I mean, you could probably swap these two around, but in my opinion it works better this way. So the reason is, you can't just go into a fight, watch this, you can't just go into a fight, press this and expect it to fill up. You see? It looks cool, nothing's filled up. And the reason is, to fill them up you have to do the combo actions. So, combo actions. Hakaze doesn't give you anything, it just increases your Kenki gauge, which is this sword gauge at the bottom, by 5. It's alright, it adds up over time, but you'll get that anyway. You have to, long story short, basically, you have to press Hakaze and then combo through to Kasha. You have to use Hakaze, then combo to Jinpu, and then to Gecko. You have to use Hakaze to Yukikaze. That's basically it. Without going into each of the abilities to tell you what they do, you've got 3 combos. Hakaze, and then you've got a path to take. You either go Jinpu or Shifu, based on which Sen circle you need to fill. If you need to fill the right one, you go Hakaze Shifu. If you need to fill the left one, you go Hakaze Jinpu. And then what that does is it unlocks the combo action for the corresponding ability. So if you press Jinpu, it will let you use Gecko as a combo ability, and then it will fill the left side of your Sen gauge. If you need to fill the right side, you'd use Hakaze, Shifu, Kasha, and that will fill that. The top one, unique case, you don't have to go through too much, you just press Hakaze and Yukikaze and it fills up the top one. So let's try that. Hakaze, Shifu. Now notice the Kasha's flashing. Kasha. There. Now before I do anything, look at my Iaijutsu. So Higanbana, that's my single target one, and that's because I filled one of these Sen circles. We're going to fill a second one now. So I'm going to do my second combo. Hakaze, Jinpu, Gecko. There. So now I have the AoE Iaijutsu, Tenkai Goken. And then I'm going to fill the third one. X, Hakaze, Yukikaze. And then I've got Midori Setsugeki there. Press down. So cool. I'll never get tired of that. But you'll notice the animation when he does it. When you activate Midori Setsugeki, or any Iaijutsu for that matter, he crouches, he puts his hand on his sword, he leans to the left, and for me, I love the fact that, you know, holding R2 and pressing down feels sort of natural as to that motion, as you can get on a control pad really. X, I tried X for a while and it kind of felt like it just wasn't as natural as pressing down, because down sort of, in my mind anyway, it kind of corresponds to the action of crouching. So that's why I've got Iaijutsu on down. You might not want it there, but I find it's best to have it on down or X, something like that. So the other question, I guess, that I served up earlier for myself is, why have I not switched Yukikaze with Hissatsu Kaiten? I'm just going to use it. Looks cool as hell. But reason is, if I had Yukikaze over here, it would mean my 3 combos would go Hakikaze, Shifu, Kasha, Hakikaze, Jinpu, Gecko, then Hakikaze, and then I have to go all the way up here for that. Which, I mean, people might be fine with. Thinking about it, it could work, but this is where Hissatsu Kaiten comes into play. So what this does is it increases the potency of your next weapon skill used by 50%, and it costs 20 Kenki to use. So ideally, when you get to level 70, you want to be popping this button before Gecko, Kasha, Yukikaze and even your Iaijutsu. So you want to be popping this pretty much every other attack, and it's available to you because you have access to replenish your Kenki gauge at the bottom, which is the sword. At level sort of 50, 60, whatever you start at, I can't remember, you don't really have the resources or the abilities to replenish your Kenki gauge. So only use Hissatsu Kaiten with an Iaijutsu, unless you have spare Kenki, in which case you can shell it out however you want. And when I played, I found the other way to use it was Hissatsu Gyoten, which is basically just this. Oops. Which, again, cool as hell. But early on, that's all I did with Hissatsu Kaiten anyway, so my pronunciations suck. So I'm sorry if I butchered the Japanese language. So Hissatsu Kaiten I only used with Iaijutsu or with this little charge attack here that I've got here. So that's L2 and square. And again, for me, square just felt fairly natural when it came to charging towards the enemy. I would have had triangle, but I've already got nearest attack there. In all of my builds, I have nearest attack set to triangle, so I didn't want to mess with that. I think, well, okay, so let's look at it from a leveling perspective. From level 60, I think you start at, you'll have access to all the way up to meditate. So you'll have this charge attack here, which costs 10 Kenki. You end up building up 5 just by using Hakaze, so if you do it twice you get 10 Kenki. You can use that later, but again, this costs 20 Kenki, so by the time you finish your 3 combos, you would have done Hakaze 3 times, which would have given you 15. Then again, Jinpu gives you 5, Shifu gives you 5 as well, and where's Kasha? Kasha increases it as well, so does Gecko. So you get 5 for each of these weapon skills, so you'll get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you'll end up with 40 Kenki, 5 times 8, which, as we pointed out, this costs 20 to do, so I guess you could use your Hissatsu Kaiten twice, so you could use it to buff or boost Gecko or Kasha as well, because, well, I guess they've got combo potency is 480, which is quite high anyway, higher than some of the other ones. Oh, Yukikaze again, 400, so 480, yeah. So if you were to boost anything else with Hissatsu Kaiten other than Iaijutsu, I'd probably boost Gecko or Kasha if you have the spare Kenki. And I sound like I'm talking gibberish right now to anybody who hasn't been following. I apologize. I'll try and explain a little bit more clearly going forward. So I understand. You know what? Honestly, if I was listening to this video, I'd probably struggle. What you need to do is essentially just remember that your samurai combo, you've got 3 combos: this, and then Hissatsu Kaiten, and then Iaijutsu. That's your single target combo. As you level up further, you will have access to this Ikishoten, which increases your Kenki gauge by 50 just by pressing it. It's got like a minute cooldown, but if you use it at the start of a battle, you've instantly got 50 Kenki to play with, so you can start buffing your I always only buff Yukikaze, Kasha or Gecko or Iaijutsu. Don't bother buffing Jinpu, Shifu or Hakaze because you just won't be able to, you won't have enough Kenki. So I'll go Hakaze, Shifu, Hissatsu Kaiten, Kasha, and then Hakaze, Jinpu, Hissatsu Kaiten, Gecko, Hakaze, Hissatsu Kaiten, Yukikaze. That's my 3 Sen circles filled, and then I'll do Hissatsu Kaiten and the Iaijutsu for the big Midari Setsugeka. So that's my single target combo. You also get this thing once you've done that, and once you've understood, you've got your head around that. You've got this thing here called a Meikyo Shisui. It's basically just a shortcut. and what it lets you do is it lets you fill these, well, as it says there, you don't need to meet any requirements to activate the combo effects. So once you pop that, you can press Yukikaze and it will directly fill up your Sen circle at the top without having to start at Hakaze and then Yukikaze. And equally it'll do the same if you just press Gecko or Kasha, it'll fill them up straight away without having to go through Hakaze, Jinpu, Gecko, Hakaze, Shifu or Kasha. So effectively it's just a shortcut, and that's what it is. That's what it's there for. But there's one thing to bear in mind here that I haven't covered yet, and that's buffs. So both Shifu and Jinpu add buffs to your character. Shifu will increase your weapon skill or reduce your cast time, so always have that active if you can. Slightly more important, just slightly, Jinpu. Jinpu will increase your damage dealt by 10%. So before doing any big attacks, any maximum damage attacks, if you're trying to use Hissatsu Kaiten to boost your damage by 50%, bear in mind Jinpu should be active as a buff, and to activate it you literally just have to use a combo that hits Jinpu, so Hakaze, Jinpu, Gecko, and then you've got 30 seconds, I think it's is it 30 seconds? 40 seconds duration of Jinpu uptime. So talk aside, let's go. Let's try, I guess I'll go for a level 60 type combo, so I won't use anything to replenish my Kenki other than just these things here. So Hakaze is my opener, Shifu to get my buff, then Kasha to fill the right Sen circle, Hakaze again, Jinpu to get my damage buff, Gecko fill the left circle, Hakaze, Yukikaze, and then Hissatsu Kaiten, and then there we go. And that's it. So following on from that, actually, let's do this. So now that I've got the buffs up at the top, you can see I've got Jinpu and Shifu active. I can do this, make your Shisui, Yukikaze, Sen circle filled, Kasha, another Sen circle filled, Gecko, third one filled, Hissatsu Kaiten, Midori Setsugeka. It's that simple. God, I love this music. Yeah, so again, the button layout that I've customized, I feel that it complements it quite well. Try it, see what you think. If you like it, comment below. Just let me know, because it rhymes. But I'm curious to see what other PS4 players use, because I always see PC players online, and you know, on YouTube, that's pretty much all I see. So it'd be nice to see what other PS4 players do. So that's a single target rotation, really. The other abilities over here I haven't really gone into too much, but I guess I can cover them. Arm's length is every meta DPS gets this. So what I try and do is, I have some defensive skills here. I primarily try to use the left side for defensive and abilities that aren't really attack focused. So for example, Hagakure, this is something that was added back into the game. What this does is, for example, say I've gone into a fight, the fight's over, I've killed the mob, and at this point I'm going into the next fight and I'm like, okay, cool, I need to get rid of this. Actually, that's not a good example. Let me pick a better example. Let me get the damage buff up. There. So now you'll notice I've got 2 Sen circles filled on the right. So what this means is I can go straight in and I can actually just use my AoE cone effect attack multiple target Iaijutsu. But to be honest, at the moment it's not so bad because I've still got this Jinpu buff up. But imagine we're running around and that buff drops off. I don't have that buff anymore. I might not want to go in and start just using or filling my third Sen circle with Kasha, because I could just go in Hakaze Shifu Kasha, and then I've got all 10 circles filled, ready for a big Hissatsu Kaiten and then a Iaijutsu with Midori Setsugeka. But the reason I don't want to do that is because it'll be slightly wasteful, because my Jinpu buff will not be active, because I don't need to activate it, because I've already got that Sen circle filled from I don't have to do Hakaze, Jinpu and Gecko. So at this point, what I would do, and this is what Hagakure is for, it's really for sort of dungeons and stuff, you dump it. So the way you dump it, let me get rid of some Kenki first. Okay, so the way you dump it is Hagakure, boom. So you transfer it from the Sen gauge to your Kenki, and that can be useful quite later, because I think you unlock it at, when does Hagakure? 68. So you won't have that initially. So some of these abilities that I'm going to go over now, you probably won't have. So don't worry about them too much. I've got them on my hotbar. I have done for a while because I felt that they just felt natural there. So again, these are sort of slightly supportive actions that I tried to put on the left side here. Right side, I try and put sort of offensive actions here as well. So will you have access to these? So level 56, you'll get this. There's another one. NP level 15, you've got that. Hissatsu level 62. So I guess the only ones that you won't have access to is this one and this one, but you will have this one and this one. So what they do is, this one here, it basically just a slash and a backstep, and it's really good if the boss is doing an AoE that's close to the boss and you're in melee range. If you hit this, it'll use 10 Kenki. If you've got Kenki to spare, it'll knock you completely out of range of his attack, so you can maximize your DPS. And the idea is you use this first, and then once he's finished with his attack, you can use this to close the gap. And I guess you could say, hey dude, why isn't Hissatsu Gyoten up here? And I've been thinking about that recently. I just, for the way I play, it feels better being over there, because I use it a bit more regular. And also NP, I find being quite useful there as well. So what NP does, it's literally just like an air slash at range. So you can actually just go Hissatsu Kaiten NP. So you've used this to get some distance, and then you use an air slash from a distance while you're waiting, and then you've got time just to let go and then press L2 and square and close the gap if you want to. And in all honesty, I don't want to rely on these double taps too much, so that's why I've got square, triangle, circle free there, and here I've got left, up, right free, because I feel like it's just, there's a lot of clutter you can potentially add to your UI that you won't use. So that's covered these two anyway. This third one, Hissatsu Shinten, I never use it, I'll be completely honest. I guess there are more skilled players out there who can probably explain why, but it costs 25 Kenki to use, it's quite expensive, and the only reason I can see of using it is to dump your Kenki and just get rid of it on a trash mob somewhere where he's nearly dead and you're thinking, oh well, I'll just get I just need to get rid of some Kenki here for some reason, I'm just going to press it. It's a quick poke, it literally looks like a poke, a stab. I don't use it. And here, Hissatsu Senai, I don't have this yet. This is a level 72 ability, and what it does, it's got a massive, look at that, 50 Kenki cost, but it's got 1100 potency, and it says it shares a recast timer with Hissatsu Goren, which I have unlocked. But notice the key thing, it's single target, so that's why I've got it over here. And because it's got like a 2-minute recast time, I don't need it on my main action bar. It's literally once every 2 minutes if I have the Kenki, which I should really. But on this side, again, because I'm going with the AoE theme, Hissatsu Goren at the top, which I've just unlocked, it's literally the AoE version of it, the multiple target version of what I've just shown you on the right side. So you notice how they're in the same slot. So over here you got triangle, over here it's up. Okay, so just for sort of UI decluttering, I've got most of my abilities on the left side here and most of them on the right side here because I didn't want them just clogging up the middle too much. And finally, saying that, I had to have one ability on X here, so that's L2 and X. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Double tap L2X. So that's something else I tried to factor in as well. So for example, if I accidentally misclick, will I hit something that's quite dangerous? And on a dark night, it can be quite problematic. So for example, if I double tap L2, slightly off tangent here, and if I had X set to Living Dead, which basically just keeps me alive for, I don't know if it's 10 seconds, 20 seconds or something, and then if I'm not healed to full, I die. And as a tank, if you do that by accident, you're going to basically wipe your group, and it's not really a good idea. So if I had that map to here, and then accidentally, I don't know, say for example I had my main provoke down here as well, if I double tap by accident, boom, I press the wrong ability and it costs us quite dearly as well. So that's something I try to keep in mind as well. So Shoha, back to Samurai, level 80. This is the daddy ability apparently. So based on the amount of accumulated meditation points, it does more damage. And again, X, I like the idea of X being a big attack. It just feels natural to me. Just like Iaijutsu feels natural being on down. That's why it's there. I'm not level 80 yet, and that's where I'm going to keep it for a while. Over here, Tsubame Geishi repeats the previously executed Iaijutsu with more potency. So not only, what this basically means is if you use it in your normal combo with Midori Setsugeka, say you've used Hissatsu Kaiten and you use a Midori Setsugeka, you've already got an extra 50% potency on there. But straight after that, if you pop Tsubame Geishi, it does even more damage. It does the same thing, but for even more damage, which is pretty badass to be honest, and I can't wait to get to level 76. But look at this. Where's it mapped to? Down. The same button as the Iaijutsu. And for me, it couldn't get any more perfect because I feel like a salesman now. But it's literally just perfect because the Iaijutsu's on down, and if I want to amp the Iaijutsu after I've done it, so I'll go Hissatsu Kaiten, Iaijutsu, double tap, same button again, and I've got like massive damage there. And I guess the last thing which I haven't spoke about is meditation. Meditate. So again, I've got that on down here. Just look at how it looks. So the reason I've got it on down is because I feel like, again, a slight resting pose where he leans back on it. I previously had it on up, but I decided to put Hissatsu Goren up there because it's an attacking ability. I tend to have defensive abilities on down or left rather than up. It's just a subconscious thing. It's an odd one. Each to their own, really. So what meditate does, if you're between phases on a boss, say for example you're not going to be doing anything, you just kind of let me think for boss. Titan, EX. He's jumped up into the sky. You're waiting. You're kind of thinking, what do I do now? You get into position. You're safe. You're not going to die. You're not going to fall off. Pop meditate, because what that does is it boosts your Kenki gauge. Let me bring up the description. Kenki gauge not affected when used outside of battle, but it gradually increases your Kenki gauge. So the longer it's on, the more Kenki you get for free, which is really useful between level 60 and 70 really, because as I said, your Kenki replenishment until you get to 68 is a real pain. You have to manage it quite well. At 68 you can be a lot more free with it because you have this, but it's just a nice skill to have. And again, at level 80 it seems to you have this as well, don't you, the Shoha, which depending on how long you've been meditating for, you can you get an attack which does a shed load of damage there, really. And that's basically Samurai. So let me show you my my combo. So this is, in my view, this is my strongest single attack combo. I need to dump some Kenki actually. How should I do this? So Hakaze get 10. I'll do another charge just to dump it all. There. Okay. So here goes. So this guy's a boss. I'm gonna try and talk through the abilities that I'm using as I'm using them. This is a level 70 samurai, I guess, on a single target. So I'm gonna start with Hakaze, and then I'm gonna go straight to Ikishoten to give me 50 Kenki, and then I'm gonna start my combo. Hakaze, Ikishoten, Shifu, Hissatsu Kaiten, Kasha, Hakaze again, Jinpu, Hissatsu Kaiten, Gecko, Hakaze, Yukikaze, but before I do that, Hissatsu Kaiten again, Yukikaze, Katsu Kaiten, Midori Setsugeka. Now, make Yushisue, buff Yukikaze, Hissatsu Kaiten, Kasha. Now I've run out of Hissatsu Kaiten, you see that? Gecko, Midori Setsugeka. And I'm left with 15 Kenki. So what you'll notice there is I ran out of Kenki towards the end, so I missed out on 2 buffed abilities, including my big Midori Setsugeka. So this is where a bit of planning comes through, a bit of foresight. So you might want to sneak in an extra sort of Yukikaze, Hakaze and a Yukikaze, because it gives you a quick 10. Ideally, no, I would still just go for your combo, even if you don't have the big buff here. But another way you can do it is, as you're going along, if you're keeping track of your Kenki and you think you're getting short, don't use a Hissatsu Kaiten on a Gecko, Kasha or a Yukikaze. Just hold off on one of them, and probably hold off on Yukikaze because it's the weakest one of these 3. So your priority with Hissatsu Kaiten at this level is Iaijutsu first, if it's Midori Setsugeka or your multiple target AoE. It's not so important with the Higanbana, your single target one, but if you can do it, why not? Then your next priority is when you pop make your Shisue. Hissatsu Kaiten should be done on Gecko and Kasha as a priority. Yukikaze if you have it. Now that's my view on how I'd play Samurai. There's one thing that it's a slight change to the rotation, and this is basically because of the damage over time ability, and everyone who's a bit of a Samurai purist will be shouting at me right now because I haven't covered it. But what it essentially is this thing Higanbana is quite important. And I said before, you want to keep it on the target at all times, damage over time. So to work it into your combo, because you've noticed that all I've been doing is Midori Setsugeka. I've been focusing on filling up my Sen gauge and dumping this big attack on the enemy, on the single target enemy. Again, for multiple targets you'll be dumping this one. But for single targets it should be Higanbana and Midori Setsugeka. Higanbana only when it's run out or is running out on the enemy. So to work it into a combo as quick as possible, this is the best way to do it. And this is actually what everyone does. So Hakaze, Shifu, Kasha will give you 1 Sen gauge. In theory you could just go Iaijutsu, Higanbana, boom, done. It's on. But then you'll be starting from scratch again. And basically it's not advised, because also your Higanbana that you've used won't have a damage buff because you didn't press Jinpu. Now you might be asking, well, why don't you go Hakaze, Jinpu and Gecko to get your damage buff and then use Higanbana? But reason is then you won't have your other buff, which is your reduces your the time taken on your skills or something like that. Let's see the official terminology. Hang on. So reduce weapon skill cast time. There you go. So you won't have that buff. So ideally, you want both of these up before you press Higanbana. And the way to do that, the way to weave it into your rotation is, remember you've got your 3 combos: Hakaze, Shifu, Kasha, Hakaze, Jinpu, Gecko, Hakaze, Yukikaze. There's your 3 combos. So you still do your first one, Hakaze, Shifu, Kasha. You end up with 1 Sen gauge, 1 Sen circle full. Then you go part way through your second combo, but you don't finish it. So you go Hakaze, Jinpu. You've got your attack buff. Normally you'd press Gecko next, but we're not going to do that. You literally, because you've got your attack buff, you've just got your attack buff, you've already got your weapon skill buff. That time, that's when you pop Higanbana. And also when it's finished, you'll notice that Gecko is still glowing, meaning you can press Gecko, and if you press Gecko, you get your Sen circle for Gecko filled. So you don't start from scratch, you start from where you left off, if that makes sense. So I'll show you what that looks like in practice. Again, I'm going to go with my optimal rotation, so shall I, I need to get rid of this, hang on, one sec. There. Okay, go on. Oh, another thing, you'll notice that I've got run mapped here. That's R1, and I have that on all of my jobs, just because I find it so much easier just to go like this and also like this. It's quite useful in a fight. So now that I've got no Kenki, no Sen gauge, I'll show you right from the beginning. So here we go. Hakaze, Ikishoten, Shifu, a bit slow there. Hissatsu Kaiten, Kasha, Hakaze, Jinpu. Remember, I'm going to go to Higanbana. Gecko is still flashing. Hissatsu Kaiten to buff the damage, then Gecko. See, I've got the Sen circle. Hakaze, Hissatsu Kaiten, Yukikaze. So I'm going backwards now, we're in a clockwise fashion. Hakaze, Shifu, Hissatsu Kaiten, get Kasha back. There you go, I've got them all. Hissatsu Kaiten, Midori Hissatsu Gecko. And then over here, so the eagle-eyed among you would see that I did a couple things wrong there, and I guess it might not be easy to spot. So what I did is, when I popped Meikyo Shisue, I used my Hissatsu Kaiten on Yukikaze first, and I said earlier that that's the weakest one, so I shouldn't have done that, and it's bad practice on my part. I need to be doing this, then Hissatsu Kaiten Gecko, Hissatsu Kaiten Kasha, and at that point I probably won't even use it on Yukikaze, because I want to save it for my I did that by accident. I want to save it for my Iaijutsu. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for the I'll wait for my cooldowns to come back, and then I'll go full full samurai on this dummy. I really want to see what Hissatsu Gurin does. I'll do that afterwards. So actually, 20 seconds, I'll be well into the combo by then. So let's go. There it is. Oops. So, I mean, in all honesty, I could probably refine that a little bit more. Come on, music. That's striking me, won't let me go. See, the reason is it's got the Higanbana dot on it, so I'm still in combat until the dot runs out. There it is. Okay, so I guess I could refine that even more by actually not using Hissatsu Kaiten on Yukikaze another time, because I missed it once. If I miss it again, I'll have it for Kasha, which is slightly more damage. But again, these are really slight tweaks you can do, and I guess I've kind of gone into depth a little bit, which you probably don't care about at this stage. Maybe rewatch the second half of the video as you level up. But that's really it. I think at level 80 I'll have a lot of fun with these abilities here. But just for fun, I wanna do Hissatsu Guren, so let's see what that looks like. Oops. There we go. Oh wow. Okay, that was pretty cool. Yeah. Okay. And then look, notice it shares a cast timer with an ability that I don't have yet. So yeah, that's Samurai level. Excuse me. Wow, been talking for far too long. Yeah, so that's the Samurai level 70 explanation from me. Again, if you're a pro out there, donate. I'm just trying to help a couple guys, a couple people, whoever want to pick up Samurai and have a go with it, really, because to be honest, when you pick up a job that starts at level 50, 60, maybe even 70 in future, I think Gunbreaker starts at 70, or was it 60? But it's really confusing, because you just get dumped a load of skills, and it's like, here you go, game's like, here you go, guy, go and do them, girl, go figure it out. But actually, it's a minefield. So just as a tip, if you're going to do that on any other job, literally just pull out a piece of paper, start with the first skill, and start with combo actions from there. So anything that says it combos with something, draw an arrow to say what combos with what and what effect you get from comboing, because this is literally just a dump of skills. It'd be really nice if they were displayed in like a nice sort of user-friendly arrow format that says Hakaze arrow, Jinpu arrow, Gecko. Like for example, Gecko should be up here. Maybe that's a suggestion somebody's made somewhere, and hopefully Square will take it on board. Massive undertaking for every job, but it'll just make it easier for newcomers. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll hope to see you in the game. Bye bye.